So there's still a few more people coming in, but I think it's 6:31 now, so I'll crack on. Meeting's supposed to start at 6:30. So welcome everyone to the latest Squash Wales Forum, the August edition. And if you just bear with me, there's people still in the waiting room, which I must admit. Great. Yeah. So as people have just heard, we will be recording this meeting and it will be available on our website on Monday. Can you please knock off your video camera during the presentation? Can you please ensure everyone is on, you're on mute? Any questions you got during the presentation, please enter them in the chat room, and or we will pick them up in the Q&A session after at the end of the presentation. So in attendance this evening, we got Richard Bennett, the Chair of Squash Wales, Phil Brayley, our liaison officer, myself, Roy Gingell, the operations manager, David Evans, the performance director, Phil Barker's here, the regional development officer from North Wales, and actually Nick Edwards, our new league manager, he is also on the call. The agenda this evening, just obviously the opening remarks, the attendance. I think we've got 35 people on the call today. We're going to speak about the recent Welsh guidance and the Squash Wales return to court guidance. Nick is going to talk about the league and 2021-2022 format and where we are on that. We got a brief update on the competition sort of calendar, where we are with that, and our membership. And then to finish off the next steps. And at the end of it, we're open to a Q&A sessions with any questions off the floor. So with further ado, I will hand you over to Dave, who will give you up the latest information in relation to the return to court.
Thanks, Roy. Good evening, everyone. Just to give you a sort of a brief brief announcement of what's happening with regards to court. Obviously, from the 6th of August, the announcement by the Welsh Government putting Wales to alert level 0, and what that means for squash in Wales. As you can see, it means singles play, no restrictions, doubles play, no restrictions, and coaching sessions, maximum 6 adults to a court and 8 juniors to a court. So pretty much back to where we were before we got hit with COVID. Move on to the next slide, Roy, please. In saying that, what it actually means and the guidance means for all of us, members, clubs, there are still 3 legal requirements that all clubs need to be mindful of and adhere to. That is that all businesses, employers, and the organisations must have their own specific coronavirus risk assessment for their premises and any activities that take place on their premises, and showing where they're taking reasonable measures to minimise the risk of coronavirus. Everyone must still isolate if they test positive, and if you've been a close contact, as instructed by the test, trace, protect system, until we know, until that changes, that these are legal requirements, along with face coverings are to be worn indoors unless there's any medical exemptions, or children under 11. So, you know, we need to be mindful that these are 3 legal requirements that we still must adhere to. The Welsh Government put out the sort of a raft of guidance, you know, probably a 30 or 40 page document, and what Squash Wales have done is try to summarize it to give you a brief overview of what is needed and required by each and every one of us. In short, it's down to every individual operator on what they can do and what they want to do in their premises, and there's lots of sort of different questions here that are on the screen. You'll have these slides after the webinar today, but they're just mindful of the fact that when you do your risk assessment and put sort of guidance in place for your own venue, these are the sort of questions that you need to be asking. That, you know, what can be done to physically distance people on the premises? You know, what can be done to encourage people to be vaccinated? Some of these points won't be relevant to yourselves, but some of them will be. If you could move on to the next slide, please, Rai. More sort of specific for us in squash, what can be done to improve the ventilation indoors? You know, whether that's opening the windows or the mechanical ventilation systems, how long people spend indoors, and obviously minimize the face-to-face interaction that people have. Hygiene is obviously a huge area that we all need to be mindful of. And although this has gone through quite quickly, like I said, what it means is you can have spectators in your venue. You can play normal squash, but you must have your own specific risk assessment on how you're going to mitigate the risks. Squash Wales has produced some guidance, and again, it is guidance and recommendations because every venue is going to be different. Some venues have, you know, large changing rooms and large areas where they can have spectators. Others are a lot smaller. So hence, that's where your risk assessment needs to be specific for your own private club or club in a leisure centre. But like I said, on Monday, we'll be sending out our guidance where we've covered, or hopefully covered, every area of a heading that you will require in your club. So that will enable you to sort of take out or include those areas that are specific for your venue. We've also put a risk assessment together with the guidance to give you ideas on what to do. You know, we are happy and we are here to help, ask any questions and answer any questions and give you guidance. But from what the Welsh Government are telling everyone, it is down to the individual venue to decide what they are happy with to help minimise the risk of coronavirus. Like I said, I know there will probably be a lot of questions at the end of the webinar this evening where you can get a bit more specific, but that's a sort of a whistle-stop tour of what the government guidelines are actually telling us what we're allowed to do.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Thanks for that. So just to reiterate, these are the Welsh Government guidelines in this slide. This presentation will be available on our website. We have drafted our own Squash Wales squash-specific guidance, which will also be published on Monday with a basic COVID risk assessment to help guide you complete your own specific COVID risk assessment for your building. And as Dave said, we are here to help and support you through this journey also. So we'll move quickly on to the squash leagues, and following our interactions over the last couple of weeks and our questionnaire, Nick is on the call, and our league manager. Nick is just going to run through the sort of information and where we are with our leagues. As the heading says, the leagues will run in the autumn. Nick, over to you to give a latest update.
Okay, right. Thank you very much for that. If you could also let me share my screen as well, that might be helpful. But we'll come to that in a moment. Good evening, everybody. As you can see, we are hoping to get the competitive leagues up and running by the first week of October. And for that to happen, a number of things have to come in from each of the clubs. By the 1st of September, I would need from you guys your club representative information, email, mobile number. If I can have that as soon as possible, rather than wait till the 1st, that would be great. We will need to know the number of teams that you intend putting in for the competitive leagues in the winter. So that number of teams will be crucial for us to make sure we get the structure right and make sure that we have balanced divisions across the whole of Squash Wales. We'll leave the names of the teams as well, one with A, one with B, whatever you're going to call your teams. We also need for the league manager, the league master, is the night on which the home games will be played and the start time for those. This is to ensure that we minimize any clashes that happen. We've been doing this for a number of years, I understand it, and as long as we have that information early on, we can avoid any clashes. And the last thing there is the venue for the home games for each team. You appreciate I'm fairly new to this role. I'm not exactly sure what each of these clubs are at the moment. So if you could let me know the venue that you play from, then that would be very useful too. So if we can have all of that with me by the 1st September, we've got a good chance of getting the leagues up and running, ready for the start of October. We will, however, need the ranking list of players for each of your clubs and team allocations by at least the middle of September, the 15th September. This again is to give the league master a chance to get their act together and make sure that everything is in place ready for the leagues to start. Looking at the leagues themselves, I've had a number of conversations with Phil and Roy and a number of other people on this, also drawing on the expertise of Mike Howe, who has been brilliant, I have to say. And this is the kind of structure that we're thinking about for October. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. If we start from the far right, starting if you like the top northwest, we have Iruri.
Nick, I
can't see it.
We can't. I am sharing the screen. I'll tell you what you do, Nick. We'll just run through my presentation here, right? And
yeah.
Well, if I stop sharing now, right? You should be okay now, Nick.
Okay, it says that I am screen sharing. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we can see you now, Nick.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so starting from the far right of that Excel sheet, we start from the top northwest. We have the Iruri division. Basically, we're looking at probably 14 teams, but as I say, all these teams need to be confirmed before we can get this in the tablets of stone. So we're expecting 14 teams to be playing. That will probably be in two divisions of 7. As per usual, there's no promotion direct to Premier 2 from the northwest of Wales. Moving to the east, we then have Northeast Wales. Again, we're envisaging around about 16 teams to be playing in that division. Again, no promotion direct to Premier 2. And I think there used to be 3 Northeast Wales teams. 3 Northeast Wales divisions, and that will remain as was. Looking at Pembroke, which is in the far southwest of Wales, obviously, we're looking at 13 teams to be playing here. But again, as I say, this has to be confirmed with the various areas. There's no promotion direct to Premier 2, but we're looking at having a promotion from Pembroke into the southwest region. And that will be done on a playoff basis, and details of that will be ironed out later. So that brings us then to the left part of the screen, and this is the sort of Premier 1, Premier 2 piece that people are familiar with. We're envisioning there are going to be 8 teams in both Premier 1 and Premier 2, and then there's a slight restructure on what I'll call feeder leagues into Premier 2. These South Central, Southwest, South Central West, and South Central East would be the 4 areas, if you like, that South Wales would be divided up into. Again, looking at the numbers of teams there, we're envisaging around about 43 for the South Central area, 23 for South West, 16 for South Central East, and 16 for South Central West. Now, the idea would be, from a promotion and demotion perspective, in Premier 1, as usual, 1 team will be demoted from Premier 1 into Premier 2, and 1 team will be promoted from Premier 2 up into Premier 1. In addition to that, there will be a playoff for the Premier 1 7th position and the Premier 2 2nd position. Those 2 teams would play a playoff. The winner of that playoff would play in Premier 1, and the loser of that would play in Premier 2. As usual, again, Premier 2 will lose 2 teams in a relegation at the end of the season. Now, those 2 teams could go into any of those 4 feeder leagues. So this is where it gets a little bit complicated. From a promotion perspective, each of those 4 regions, South Central, Southwest, South Central West, South Central East, all will have the opportunity of putting 1 team up for promotion. Obviously, there are only 2 spaces in Premier 2, so those 4 teams would have a playoff to decide which of the 2 strongest teams. And those 2 strongest teams of the 4 would play in Premier 2. The weaker of those 4, the weaker 2 of those 4 teams would remain in the divisions where they started. Okay, Within each of those regions, then of course, depending on the number of teams, depends how many numbers of divisions you have. For a South Central West, for example, you're talking 16 teams, probably 2 divisions of 8. Likewise, South Central East, probably 2 divisions of 8. Southwest 23, you're probably talking 2 8 and a 7 maybe. And for South Central, you'd have a division of 8 and then probably 5 divisions of 7. But as I say, all of this has to be confirmed when we know how many teams each of these regions are actually putting in. I'm going to stop there actually and hand back to Roy, but I'm happy to take any questions on what I just presented at the end of the meeting.
Great, thanks, Nick. If you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
Great, and then I'll come back to my screen. So can everyone see on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The competition? Yeah. Can we see the can you just confirm that people can see the competition?
Yes, I can see that, Roy.
Great,
Yeah,
thanks. Thanks very much. So just continuing to finish off on the presentation, then we have drafted up a calendar for 21-22, which again will be published on the website next week. Due to these supplementary COVID protocols, which are required for any organization running an event, we are just topping and tailing those sort of protocols and where they fit in before absolutely going from a draft to a first version. But we have got our first draft of our calendar, which will be published next week. Then finally, touching on the membership. So with the leagues running, our membership platform 100% will go live from September the 1st. Full marketing and social media drive to run alongside that membership. That will take place the last week of August and throughout the month of September, to enable all personnel that actually play in the leagues, that start up in the leagues, will have the opportunity to join Squash Wales during the month of September. Every individual will be required to sign up and enter the details. And like I said, full information will be given out to each and every one of us on how to physically do that. And basically, if you're not a member of Squash Wales, an individual member, for £10, you will be unable to play in those leagues. And as previously said on the various forums we have, there is a big reward scheme running alongside that, which will give the individuals opportunities to access some 280 high street brands, both squash specific and each and every sector within the high street, opportunities for squash members to access various discounted materials within those stores. The membership will run for 6 months up until March next year. And as a governing body, we are looking in future years to commence membership linked to our financial year from April each year. So we have taken that understanding that in the future, membership of Squash Wales will commence every April from therein to run alongside our financial year. So that's the brief update. During the next couple of months, obviously very, very busy during the month of September with the membership launch, the return to league squash. 100% we are working with the providers, the various operators around the country, to ensure, with the guidance, a full return to play and align all the protocols contained in our guidance to ensure we are back playing. So that's basically the whistle stop tour that we've got for this membership forum, for this club forum. I can now hand you over to Phil, who will mediate the question and answer session. Phil, over to you.
Thanks, Roy. Hi, everyone. So first of all, we've picked up a few questions in the chat, and you will have seen those answered. So there's a question about what's the earliest start time. So at the moment, it's in the new league rules, which we're in the process of finalising. The earliest start time is 6:30. So I don't know whether that would allow you, Dave, to conclude your matches at the leisure centre. Look, one of the things we've also said is that if there's a facility to start earlier and the opposing team is happy with that, then that can be facilitated as well. But your opponents need to agree it beforehand, and the league manager needs to be advised of that as well. So is that okay, Dave?
Thanks, Phil. I just have to see, hopefully we can get the courts open later. We now have 3 courts, so maybe we'll use all 3 courts at the same time.
Okay.
One issue we may have is shower facilities at the moment. That's my next task, to get shower facilities open. Yeah,
and I think that's going to be a challenge in some venues anyway. So it's something that each venue is going to have to consider and put in place risk mitigating actions dependent on their circumstances. Somebody asked what is considered a tolerable risk. Of Chris Wheeler. That's in the information from Welsh Government, where they talk about reasonable measures to minimise the risk, and that again will be dependent on your individual circumstances. So I suggest you read the Welsh Government. That'll explain what that is. Richard has answered a question there as well on the risk assessment. So your club is going to have to do a risk assessment, and then you're going to have to abide also by the requirements from the facility, whether that's a private club or a leisure centre, as to what their requirements are to enter and participate in any activity there. So, and that will be the priority in terms of the requirements on that risk assessment. There's a question from James King. Can Squash Wales confirm their stats, I assume that status, regarding vaccination as a necessity, for league squash? I can answer that unless anybody else wants to answer it. We have no stance on that. That will be down to the individual venue to decide if they require vaccination or not for people to enter the facility. From a Squash Wales perspective, there's no requirement from Welsh Government on vaccinations, and as a consequence, there's no requirements from us in terms of vaccinations. That will be down to the individual venue. Okay, then one from Arwell. Will there be 2 versions of the Squash Wales guidelines for next week, one for the private clubs and one for the leisure centre clubs? Okay, so we don't have 2 versions of the guidelines. As far as we're concerned, the guidelines are aligned with the Welsh Government guidelines and recommendations. So there's no difference in terms of the guidelines and what the contents of those guidelines are. What you may find is that private clubs and leisure centre clubs may have different requirements. And what you need to be aware of is what are the requirements for the club you are playing in for you to attend and play squash in that club or leisure venue. And also to be aware of the requirements if you play league squash when you are a visiting team and attending a venue, you need to be aware of what the requirements are there to ensure that you're allowed in to participate. So I think that's something that you need to be aware of. So there won't be two versions. It's the Welsh Government guidelines, and what we are doing is sort of regurgitating what they've provided and giving a little clarity in some areas where everybody may not be fully up to speed on what they need to do. And again, if anybody wants to speak on any of this, come off mute and add any colour to the question. We're happy to consider that as well.
Can I it's my question then? Can I come in on that?
Yeah, sure. Al.
So I'm trying to work out how would be the simplest way to do this. Then each club then, I mean, the majority of clubs in our area are not private clubs, they're leisure centre clubs. So each club has to be clear with the provider, and it's mostly the same provider, but what the rules are, then they need to make sure that every club in the league in their individual league understands the rules when they're attending that location.
Correct.
So it might be an idea, for clubs just to share that across, and it'll just reduce a lot of the bureaucracy. If one club does it, and then there's clarity about what those rules are, then that can be shared across all the clubs, can't it?
Yeah, a question for our team. Is there a potential for us to have a record of what the requirements are for the authorities and clubs? Would we hold that and send that out, or do you feel that's, and here I'm thinking maybe Roy or Nick, do you think that's something we should be doing, or something that the clubs need to take responsibility for?
To be honest, Phil, at this stage, there is a potential here. We do not know, because this is new ground for every governing body. There is a potential here that all 22 local authorities may have little subtle differences contained within their guidance, and this is the potential problem that all governing bodies, all clubs within leisure centres have. So until like we produced our guidelines, until all local authorities produce theirs, then only then will the anomalies come to life, to be honest. And be assured, as a governing body, we are going to work with all 22 local authorities to try to get alignment within our squash guidance. But already some local authorities are a little bit more cautious than others. So until we go on that journey, yes, we will. But I mean, it's a really difficult one at this stage, to be honest.
Just to add to that, I think you'll find even within local authorities, certain leisure centres may have slight subtle differences depending on the size of the venue, how big the viewing area is, that kind of thing. So I think it's a case of each club is going to have to look at the venue that they're playing out of and make sure that the guidance that they give visiting teams matches whatever the local leisure centre says.
Peter, you've got a question.
You've actually highlighted something I said the last meeting, which I think is sensible about all this. This is going to be difficult because within each local authority, it's quite likely that Monmouth may take a different view than Abergavenny because it's a different location, and that's the problem. So what I'm going to do to try and grab the bull by the horns, I'm going to sit down with the Monmouth, the bloke called Nick Butler, and I'm sure Nick Edwards will do the same for Monmouth, and we will understand what they're doing at their end first of all for the venue, because at the heart of all this, it's going to be their venue and they're responsible for their venue. What we're going to do is then sit on top of that and present, if you like, two pieces of paper to you, back to you, Squash Wales, which has got within it what Abergavenny Leisure Centre wants, and then the bit we have to do on top for things like club nights and league matches. I don't think we can do anything other than present that to you as a joint document. And it is likely, I mean, it's going to be different across the authorities. It may be different within each authority, depending on which club. Yours, Nick Edwards, may be different to mine.
Absolutely,
because of the way it is.
Absolutely. And as I say, it's about where your viewing areas are, where the players that aren't playing,
Exactly.
where they're going to stand, are they going to be allowed to watch? Do they have to wear masks if they're watching? If you've got a large viewing area, answer's probably no. If it's a very close viewing area, the answer's probably yes.
I would suggest, Nick, I don't know whether how you're getting involved with Monmouth now because of the job you're doing now, but I think Caldicott, Monmouth and Abergavenny should have a joint meeting with the Leisure Centre and Nick Butler, to the Monmouth and Nick Butler, so we can determine how this can all pan out and then present a paper back to Squash Wales. Does that make sense?
It does, but you could end up with 3 separate papers because
Well, you might do, but you might
Peter,
not.
can I just come in? Peter, you don't need to present that to us. I think that the ethos here, this is a localized decision you need to make in your club, in your facility. That is the direction of travel from Welsh Government.
No, that's fine. I thought we had to give you.
The key thing here, and what your proposal about actually getting the appropriate people together makes a lot of sense. Please do that, because I think that will be a cooperative conversation that will help you get squash played.
Yes.
We will not necessarily, if you come to us for advice, we'll certainly help, but we will not be the arbiter between every single local authority and the individual
I see.
teams.
Okay, fine.
Do it locally, agree it, everybody's happy, share the information where you need to share it. But you need a document from us showing that we've done it. That's the point.
No.
Isn't it?
No, we don't.
No, you don't. Okay.
No, that's the point. And in one way, that actually makes our life slightly difficult, because Welsh Government are kind of surpassing us and going straight to you as the local organizer to say, this is your responsibility. We can advise and we can guide and we can give you samples, but you've got to adapt it to your local venue, your local club, whatever it suits you on the ground.
Okay, actually, that I think actually that the government's been stupid then, because they should have done this through.
Okay, Peter, let's not get into that.
No, I understand that. Well, forget that. That's what they've done. The other question I wanted just to say, I understand you want the membership to start in April. My only observation for that is, are you expecting people to pay money to you in April?
Roy?
Yeah, people will be asked to sign up via a membership system where they put their details, and it will be via...
Right, I think I understand. What I'm trying to say to you is they're not going to do it till September. That's when the league starts. Do you see what's going to happen? All I'm just trying to do is give you just fair warning that if you go to the members at the end of the spring season, say, sign up now for leagues which will happen in September and October, I don't think people are going to rush to do that. That's my observation to you. I might be wrong.
Yeah,
I think people will wait until the last moment before they sign up for the new season. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I fully take that on board, Peter. Thanks for that.
Okay, fine. That's my only observation. I just think that the other thing is, just in case, just so I understand this, my own personal point of view, because I'm not going to be playing league squash now. I've reached the age where I can't do that anymore. I have enough trouble getting around playing racquetball, let alone squash. I intend to sign up as a non-associate member for £5. If I'm not actually a member of Abergavenny, I can still be a member of Squash Wales without being a member of the club, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, which means I'm insured. And that means I'm insured on any public court when I play, even if it's not with the club, correct?
Correct.
That's lovely. Okay, smashing. That's smashing. I'll make some people aware of that. And I think that's possibly it. And we will get back to you just to let you know. I think it's good form just to let you know what we're trying to do. Do you not agree? I understand what you're saying, Richard, but I think we should get back to you just to let you know what we've done. Does that make sense?
Welcome to tell us, but we will not be the rubber stamping it.
No, I understand
just
that,
because
I just want to be aware of it.
Legally, we're not really in the position to do that. And
Right.
actually that is not how the government guidelines work. It is
Right.
very much about you making local risk decisions.
Okay, well, we can do that. I just wanted to know. I mean, I was just thought it'd be a good form just to let you know what we've done.
Yeah, okay, Peter, just send it in if you want to.
Yeah, okay, fine.
We've got a question from Dave Cole. Could you send full details of the new membership scheme? Roy, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, as I said I don't know if Dave saw the presentation towards the end, but during during the next few weeks, the full membership details will be out on social media and everything. And during the month of September, those details will be made available, obviously, to everyone during the month of September.
Yeah, I understood that, right? Problem I have, I got an ATM a week Sunday, and I want to get everybody up to speed, and I want everybody involved.
Yeah.
As I said before, to get these people to pay membership is going to be a bit of a task.
Yeah, and I fully appreciate that. It's brand spanking new for everyone all across Wales, and that detail. We are running a full social media marketing campaign, and it'll be all live during the month of September. Yeah. It won't be live the 27th, 28th of August, unfortunately. It'll be live the 1st of September. So from the 1st of September, it will be available. Be rest assured, Dave, soon as it comes available, everyone will know about it, and we, I'm sorry I can't give it to you next week or whatever.
That's fine,
because my hands are tied. Okay, is that all right?
Okay. The only problem I have is we have nearly 100 members, and guaranteed you're not going to reach all of those people.
Yeah, and Dave, we're looking for 1,000 members to try to invite with, and 1st of August, 1st September, 1st of October. It's I've been given the date of the 1st September, and like I said, it's brand new for everyone. Complete rejig of our membership and the way we collect our membership. So this is new for everyone.
Thanks, Roy.
Thanks, sorry, mate.
Okay, has anybody got any other questions? No? Okay, seems everybody's happy, understood what's been presented. There'll be more material coming out on Monday. In that material, we'll have contact details of Squash Wales should you wish to contact us with any other questions, comments, or observations. So please do so. And if there's nothing else, I'll hand back to Roy to close the meeting.
Yeah, okay, many thanks for joining us tonight. Like I said, this has been recorded. This will also be up on the website on Monday, along with the guidance published on Monday. So watch this space. Social media will be out there during the next couple of weeks in relation to both the leagues and the membership platform, as we said. And then hopefully then we'll be back in touch. Next forum penciled in for the middle to the end of September, and those dates will be published as well. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Any further questions, please contact us, info@squashwales.com. Please email us, and we're here to help and support you on this new, quite unique sort of journey we're all on now, COVID-esque. Many thanks. Keep safe, everyone, and we'll be in touch.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Probs.
Yep, thanks. Bye.